Hey everybody, Grandmaster Ben Feingold here. Um, so uh, I didn't really feel like looking at the game that I won in round two from the ALOHA tournament. ALOHA? I'm thinking of ALOHA because I got my check today. So cross our fingers and hope that it clears. Um, Only 23 days after the tournament. So what was I going to say? Oh yeah, the Southern Congress. Yeah, that game was a little iffy. I'll look at it eventually. But you guys are all Kasparov fans, and he's doing about what I expected, although he's playing worse than I thought he would. He he's not going to do well. I overestimated his chances. A lot of people thought he would come in the top three, and I thought he would get -1 and come in sixth or seventh, which I've said in many videos. But now I don't think he's going to do that well. He's -1 now, and he's very struggling. And his main issue, other than his play's okay, but his main issue is his time management. I mean, he's just thinking forever because he's rusty. And he's going to get worse as the tournament goes on because he's going to get tired. And playing 9 Blitz games, then 9 Blitz games the next day, it's not exhausting for you at home because people you're playing aren't very good, but these guys are good. So it's just hard playing 2750s every game. But anyway, he's not doing that badly yet score-wise. He is 7th through 9th. But, I mean, now I've changed my opinion based on the play. I think he's probably going to come in 8th or 9th out of the 10 players. And before I thought he'd come in 6th or 7th. But he's just, he's not going to play after this tournament. So anyway, you guys love Kasparov and he's the greatest and all that. And that's true. But, he's old. He doesn't play anymore. So a lot of the arguments people had, well, you guys don't really know how to argue. Not too bright. But you're like, oh, Anand's old. And you had some other guy who was old. Who else was old? Oh, yeah, Tall is old. I mean, you're talking about guys who aren't as old, who didn't stop playing. It's worse that he hasn't played in 12 years than he's old, but he's old too. But by the way, the person this mostly resembles as far as not playing for a long time and then playing again is Kamsky. Kamsky didn't play for many years. And, he's okay, but Kamsky was top 5 in the world and played a world championship match with Karpov. Then he didn't play for a long time, and then he was not even in top 50 in the world. He's probably like 80 or 90 now. And he's only 40, but when he was between like 34 and 40 when he came back, he was good in the U.S., but he's not, Wesley So or Karwan or Nakamura. He's okay. But at his peak, Kamsky was as good as those guys. So when you don't play for 5, 6, 10, 12 years, and you're 54, and it's Blitz and Rapid, you can't do it. So, he's worse than he used to be. He's slower than he used to be, and that's just the way it is. Now, it's exciting for everybody. The YouTube feed has a lot of people watching. I'm watching also. I like to watch the other players too, like Aronian, Anand. Dominguez is playing really well. And Navarro's not playing great, but, up and down. Anyway, I'm going to look at every Kasparov game. He's played 6 so far. I'm not going to look deeply into the games. I'm just going to run through them. If there's a critical point, I'll stop. But since there's 6 games, it's going to be like 4 minutes max on every game. Okay, this is his game with Karyakin from the first round. They played a Nimzo-Indian Queen C2, which I know really well. Queen takes D5 was actually very common when Kasparov was playing. And after knight F3, Queen F5, this became popular in the late 90s, early 2000s. And Queen takes Queen is the most common move, but I don't think that gives White an advantage. So I actually like that Kasparov played Queen B3. And C5 is common, and Knight C6 actually I faced once. This was actually funny. I won a game very quickly against a 2200 about, 15 years ago. I played A3, and after Bishop D6, that's a blunder. E4 actually wins a piece because I'm attacking the queen, and I'm threatening E5. So you have to take, and then Bishop D3. Well, I tried to play Bishop D3. Yeah, so that's pretty funny that, yeah. And I won. Shocking. Okay, so Kasparov didn't play A3. He played Bishop D2, which is fine. And after the game, and h3 makes a lot of sense. He actually played g4 because it kicked the queen away. After the game, Kasparov was saying that he thought this was Karyakin's prep for, like, the World Championship with Carlsen. I mean, maybe. This just seemed like Black was doing pretty well, at least equal. The commentators were saying Kasparov's better, Kasparov's great, Kasparov's the greatest. It's not really a good analysis. Kasparov thought he was worse. And the big question in this game was, in this position, where they traded and bishop e8. And the big question was, why didn't Kasparov play e4? And there was a lot of talk about that and a lot of analysis. And Kasparov was shaking his head during the game. And he decided that e4 wasn't good. And then he said, this idea with f6 and bishop e8 must have been Karyakin's prep. I don't know about that. Anyway, white has the two bishops, but this pawn on a4 is, this pawn on a4 is really nice because it's positionally strong against these pawns. Black has pieces out, bishop g6 is coming. The f6 pawn is stopping, white from getting aggressive. So that position is about equal. He played e3, which doesn't fight for the advantage. And it was sort of a boring game. They traded a lot. And white's probably not worse, but practically white's worse because white has this bad pawn structure. Two bishops are sort of meaningless. Bishop on d2 is terrible. So Kasparov felt he was worse, even though the commentators were gushing over him. And the draw was a fair result. Nothing much really happened in this game. Sort of boring. And afterwards, Kasparov, who's very objective, unlike a lot of people, he said he fought for a draw and he had his draw because he thought he was worse here, even though the engine says he's fine. And yeah, okay. Karyakin plays for the win with knight f4 instead of repeating with bishop f7, but draws a fair result. So pretty good from Gary, for not playing for a long time. Just a tactic for you at home: if rook takes d4, rook takes e4, and then bishop f5 check. Gary can still calculate stuff like that. Okay, so bishop c2. And finally, a repetition. They agree to a draw. So that wasn't bad. I mean, Kasparov basically got nothing with white and equalized and drew. Reasonable. Karyakin's a good player. But, the Kasparov we're seeing now isn't the one from 20 years ago where he was playing deep opening prep and attacking and playing fast. Now he's playing slow and not playing deep opening prep and drawing. So, I mean, it's fun to watch because I'm sure in 27 games he's going to destroy somebody because he's capable of doing that. He just hasn't done it yet. Okay, but maybe he'll do it some other game. Okay, now we'll get to game number 2 somehow. He played, not Nakamura. Who did he play in round 2? Was it Dominguez? No, it was Nakamura. That's right. Okay, and then we'll get the notation. Okay, and Kasparov is black, so I'll flip the board for you guys in case Mike Hummer's watching the video. Okay, and Naka played opening badly with white like he always does, giving Kasparov the advantage. Pawn sacrificed, which is pretty good for black, I think. And yeah, the engine really wants Nakamura to take on d5 with the pawn or the knight, but he played e5. Yeah, and this is probably better for black. Black has two bishops, and white has no compensation for the two bishops. So this was a funny part of the game because Nakamura played the computer move here, which isn't a move you would think of at home. That's the first funny part of the game. He played knight g1, which is a funny move. Played knight f3. But, I mean, you can't let him play bishop takes f3, so reasonable move. Okay, so f6 makes sense. f6 every game. Every game we've seen f6. Yeah, when the white pawn's on e5, you play f6. And black's castles and white's king in the center. So this is just absolutely abysmal opening play from Nakamura. When he's white, he does that a lot. He gets nothing. He's probably a better player with black, to be honest. So, okay, so Nakamura struggled to equalize. And he's worse, but eventually he equalized. He's got the two bishops for nothing. And this is just a great position for black. Okay, and it's rapid, so the play's not at the highest level, but it's okay. And they moved around a lot. They got to this ending, which should be a draw. Kasparov got outplayed, probably because he had much less time. And struggling to draw. Trade all the pawns off when you're trying to draw. Makes sense. And he's trading and trading. Can't mate with 2 knights. Well, you can, but you won't. So that makes it closer to a draw. And this position, if it's this position, Nakamura made a very nice move. Very good move, which Kasparov probably thought he prevented. F4 check. Very good temporary pawn sacrifice because it gets you get the pawn back and you get to kick the king away. So this is nice. Knight F3 check. If Kasparov didn't play bishop E7, the H pawn would be hanging. Knight F5 check. And yeah, this is a very bad ending for black because white's got passed pawns and black's passed pawns are not important. White has passed pawns on both sides of the board. Yeah, and I think Nakamura just made one mistake because he's winning here. And let's see, when did he make his mistake? I think it was in this position. Yeah, Nakamura played King E4. After King E4, it's a draw. Of course, with engines and analyzing it forever, you can conclude, better. But it looks like King C4 wins. And again, I don't blame the players in a rapid game with no time on their clock, not playing this endgame correctly. So basically, Kasparov got a big advantage out of the opening and then floundered around. And eventually, Nakamura took over, got a winning endgame and couldn't win it. So, typical for those players, not very accurate. And Nakamura plays faster than Kasparov, so he's a good rapid player. But, seems like the players today, a lot of them are just opening prep, and their level of play at the end of the game isn't better than the players from 50, 60, 70 years ago. And just based on watching a lot of chess the last few years, I think Fischer would just destroy all these people. Fischer actually was good at chess, and he had good preparation. But a lot of these guys, they play okay, and then we see so many mistakes in the rapid at the end of the game when they have very little time on the clock. So level of play isn't good, which means there's a lot of decisive games, which is good for us. So there's a lot of up and down. Somebody's winning, somebody else is winning. If you're following the tournament, one of the funniest games was Lequan Lim beating Caruana in the first round when Caruana was a queen up. But the truth hurts. Okay, and now I think it's a draw with correct play. But yeah, the players don't know that. They're just playing as good as they can play. Yeah. Okay, and it's funny, I had the same endgame, except I had a bishop. I had a dark squared bishop, and I won that endgame a long time ago. But the knight's not as good for, if it was a bishop, you play bishop here now. The knight's not as good at blocking the bishop. It takes longer. Yeah, and Kasparov defended this well. During the game, I wasn't sure if it was a win or a draw. I don't think the players were either, but Kasparov didn't do anything wrong, so he drew the game. And there you go. Yay, draw. Okay, so that was game 2. Not the most exciting game, but up and down. Kasparov was much better and or winning, and then Hikaru was, and then they drew. Okay. So the third game was against Dominguez, and that was pretty boring. Kasparov was white. They played a really uninteresting QGD, sort of a boring variation. And Kasparov said he thought knight e6 was a prepared novelty that was good, like he knew this position. Trade, 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 trade. Black has an isolated pawn, but black's position is really nice otherwise. And in this position, he played knight e6, which I think Kasparov said was a new move in preparation. I don't know. Just looks like a normal move. Attacks the queen by discovery. And yeah, this is just g4 just draws immediately. They just trade everything. I think actually Dominguez might have been better later. Yeah, this is just Kasparov's not as sharp as he used to be. He's not getting positions where he can fight for the initiative and take over. And then when he does, he's not sharp. I mean, he's 54. He hasn't played in 12 years. So yeah. Okay, so they did a lot of trading going on. Rook c1 was a nice move. It trades more. Threatens queen takes d2. Nice move from Dominguez. And sort of forces the draw because there's no pieces left on the board. Yeah. And they agreed to a draw here. So There was a lot of trade in that game. And again, that was the first day. Kasparov had 3 draws. This game was probably always equal. Against Hikaru, he was winning and losing. And the first game probably was almost about equal the whole game. It wasn't so interesting. So his game with Hikaru was really interesting. Either player could have won. The first and third game seemed like they were always about equal. Maybe one side had a tiny advantage, but it wasn't serious. And the bad part of the day for Kasparov, other than not winning a game, was he had a big time disadvantage. That's not the Kasparov from 10, 20, 30 years ago, getting way behind on the clock. That's what Karpov's been doing the last 20 years in rapid play. He's playing really slow. Okay, so that was those first day. Now we'll get to day 2. Not as good as day 1. Okay, and Kasparov got black twice today. And okay, and he's playing Aronian. Aronian played a very strange opening. He took on c5, which isn't a move I'm aware of. It's the kind of move I play in a Blitz game. Try to get just Kasparov into a game of chess and just play chess with him. And that's what happened. They just played chess. There was no theory. A little reminder, I've shown you guys this before, but black starting bishop takes f2 check here, followed by knight g4 check. So Aronian's not going to miss that. And yeah, computer says this is about equal. Now in this position, Aronian played bishop b5. The engine really wants him to play bishop takes knight. I guess if queen takes, then knight takes d5 is the idea. And if g takes, well, then we can play bishop b5. So yeah, it seems like bishop takes f6 gives white a little advantage. And this just seems like equal or black's better. And Aronian played knight e4 here, which the engine does not like. It basically plays any other reasonable move, like taking on d4 or moving the knight somewhere else. It doesn't like this move at all. Maybe Aronian was surprised. Maybe he expected queen e7. I don't know, but queen g6 is the best move. Threatens the knight and the g pawn. Knight d6 check is nothing. I just play king e7, and you can't save the g2 pawn. So I don't know if he underestimated. I don't know what he was thinking, Aronian, because queen g6 and black's just better. Yeah, the computer really likes black here. And yeah, again, Kasparov wasn't his usual sharp, pressing his advantage. And after knight e2, these are actually the engine moves, the moves that were played by the players. Well, I think the engine wanted to play rook d2 here, but nobody's going to play that. And it says black's better here. And Kasparov played really well in this endgame. Like, he played great. And he's slightly better, and he was pressing his advantage. Everything was great. He really played well. And Aronian, knight c3 is a bad move. And this is just a lost endgame because white has all weak pawns, all of them. Terrible pawn structure for white. And Kasparov brilliantly played knight check and knight d7, winning a pawn. And basically, up until this point, knight d7 is not the best move, but it's okay. Up until this point, the last, I'd say, 12, 13 moves, perfect play from Kasparov. Winning position, and now he made a mistake and it throws it all the way. And that's the problem with playing 2800 players is they defend and defend and defend worse positions and they somehow draw. And here Kasparov made a mistake. And okay, I mean, players don't have much time on their clock, so they're going to make mistakes. He made sort of the obvious move, king g4, because you want to go with your king up. And unfortunately, this fails. Should have moved his b pawn, because white's going to play knight check and take the pawn. So if he moves his b pawn, that's not a threat anymore. If you didn't see this game, pause your video. This is white to play and draw. And we knew it was a draw because the engines were telling us. And Aronian thought about a minute and then played it. I'm sure he saw it right away, but he was calculating. And when Aronian played the move, Kasparov did his usual, like, oh my God. That's one good thing about Kasparov and Hikaru, probably the only good thing, is they're very expressive when they play, which is really good for the spectator. I mean, they're really childish people, but it's really good for the spectator because you get to sort of laugh at them. So when this move was played, Kasparov was like, how did I throw away this win? Which is funny. So, okay, try to find the move that draws for white. Okay, and the answer is h3 check. And the problem is, if we go back to f5, because we don't want to lose all our pawns, the knight d6 check wins the b pawn. So, yeah. And king h5 doesn't make any sense. I guess maybe white's better after king h5. Black's king is trapped. Okay, so he just took the pawn. It's a draw now. No pawns left. Yeah, and he offered a draw. After this, obviously the 2 doesn't beat the 1, and even though you can sort of try to trap the knight, sort of, I mean, this is too quick. So you can't. You could actually risk losing if you're white. If you're black. If you took the knight and I took your knight, white's better. So white's king's over there. So okay, they agreed. This is all zeros. They agreed to a draw. Kasparov knew after h3 check, he'd messed up. He probably saw h3 also, and was just hoping Aroni wouldn't play it after he played king g4. So that was very close. Kasparov could have lost to Nakamura. He could have beaten Aronian. Could have beaten Nakamura probably. And somehow draw. So, okay. Unusual for any Kasparov to draw all of his games, but little known fact, in one of the Linares tournaments, I think in the, I want to say the 90s, but I actually think it might have been early 2000s, like 2003. It was a double round robin with 8 players, and so there's 14 rounds. And Kasparov had 13 draws and 1 win. Very un-Kasparov-like. Okay. Now we'll get to the one game that Kasparov lost. I was predicting he would lose this game like almost the whole way because it was a Nepomniachtchi kind of game, and it was a Kasparov kind of game like 20 years ago, but not the way he was playing here. He needs very simple because he uses a lot of time on his clock now. If it's a really sharp position and he has 2 or 3 minutes, his opponent has 10, that's not good. So, okay, they played a very sharp Grunfeld, and it looks like Kasparov's been keeping up with opening theory because he played a move that wasn't theory when he was playing, but it's theory now, h4. So people were making Simon Williams references. Simon Williams is sort of like McGregor. He's, he doesn't really have a chance, but because of my insanity on the internet, I get him a nice payday where he can play me and get crushed and get paid for it. So, and become more famous. So it was really nice for him that I put him out there in my video. So if you are a weak player like him and you want to make some money, let me know and I'll say, what an idiot, terrible, and then we'll get a match with us. So he's pretty happy, I think. We're not enemies at all. We're both going to make money for a match that's not competitive, just like Mayweather and McGregor. So yeah, the reason I mentioned Simon Williams is h4. Yay, Simon Williams was really happy because not being a good player, he likes to move his h1. It's like a beginner in my beginner's class. So anytime h4 is played by Aronian or Kasparov or anybody, he's super happy. Except after h4, they play good chess, and he doesn't. Okay, enough about Simon Williams not being a good player. Let's talk about this game. Okay, so c6, Nepo played, and bishop g5. I don't really know the theory of this. I know that after the game, Carilla was explaining that d takes c4 is the best move. It might be. Okay, but all right. So white's down a pawn, but has a nice center, and very interesting position. It's a really Nepomniachtchi type of position, let me tell you. He really likes to have these crazy positions with either color. f6, everybody plays f6. Yeah. And, I mean, there's no real evaluation, it's just crazy. So, crazy is the evaluation. e6 really surprised the commentators. That's fine. And bishop e2, the engine doesn't like. And now he played bishop e7, I think. Yeah, the engine was saying that black should play a5 here and start pushing his queenside majority. Gets the b4 square. Okay, but he played bishop e7. Now he played a5. And yeah, here the engine didn't like what white did. It wants him to play bishop takes d7. It says white's a little better. He took with the pawn, which now the engine says it's just equal. Maybe black's better. Forking the queen and bishop, so you have to check. And then you can't save your d-pawn. So normally in these positions that are super sharp, whoever's king is safer is better. The d-pawn's not really dangerous. You block all black's pieces. And since black has more pawns in front of his king, and since the h-pawn is weak, and the knight on f3 can't really go to e5 or g5, probably black's better here. And yeah, Kasparov didn't play very well at this point. Rook a2 is not a good move. And he lost his h-pawn. Yeah. Now he's just down a pawn. During the live commentary, I was let back in the chat today. That's another story. I mean, it was probably reasonable that I was kicked out, but, you know, normally when you kick somebody out of the chat, you tell them. I knew because when I was chatting yesterday, nobody was responding. It didn't say you can't chat. It just chatted, and then nobody saw it. So I was like, what? And then when I was put back in the chat, nobody told me that either. But I noticed because I chatted, people said, hey, he's back. I talked to the person who kicked me out. So we had sort of a funny text. You know, life's sort of funny. Anyway, I don't really care. I think the chat actually is less divisive when I'm not there, because when I'm not there, people are like, what? Ben Feigel's not chatting. And then they stop talking about nonsense. They talk about me not chatting, as opposed to the other stuff they talk about, which I can't talk about on my channel. Okay, well, black's a pawn ahead here. Black's king is safer. And Nepo obviously has more time than Kasparov. Nepo's playing instantly every move all the time. He plays like that in slow chess, too. So he's a pretty good rapid player. Okay, and he uses extra pawn, f4. Good job. And this position, Kasparov made another bad move. Rook takes e8, giving away the file. Bad move. And here he blundered. I guess he's losing here, but it's like close. It's like a little losing, and he made a move that loses immediately. And that's why he played rook takes e8. He just missed. He missed what Nepo was going to do. If Nepo didn't do what he did, probably what Kasparov did was right. On the other hand, in this position, after the move f4, if Nepo doesn't do what he was going to do, f4 is a bad move. So it's mildly insulting to play this way with white, because it's like your opponent's no good, and Nepo's pretty good. So this is if you don't know the game, you should pause the video here, because Nepo played a brilliant move here, winning the game. And you'll notice, Kasparov did this because he's attacking, these two things. So if this was good for white, then Nimzo-Indian's f4 was a really bad move. So it's a rapid game. But in a slow game, Kasparov would have said, why is my opponent letting me do this really strong thing? And he would have figured out why. But it's a rapid game, so you just play. And you calculate, and you do the best you can. And so pause the video and find the winning move for black. Okay, and he played really brilliant move, rook e3. Wow. That's a nice move. And the idea is to play f3 check. And then there's a checkmate coming. So if you take on g6, for example, because the h-pawn's pinned, f3, and if your king goes to the h-file, I can play pawn takes queen, because you're blocking your rook. And if you don't go to the h-file, you get mated. And if you do both, you're still doing both. You're losing your queen. So, yeah. So you can't play queen g6. And I'm going to play f3 check. So you have to take it. And you get mated. Queen takes. Black has a perpetual if he wants. Queen f3, queen g3. But obviously f3 is winning. The reason it's winning is we're threatening two checkmates. Queen g2 mate and queen e1 mate. So, yeah. Kasparov resigned. He could have got to a lost endgame by doing this, which I'm sure he saw. And this is what I would have done if I had seen it, because, some chances to draw. And the engine says there's no chances to draw. The engine has crazy numbers here, black's plus 50 or something. So I would have done this, and I would have lost, because I was like, oh, horrible. Okay, so I'll show you the actual final position, which was f3 resigns. Nice attack from Nimzo-Indian, and nice game. Okay, and the last game before the video ends is his last game, which was against Vishy Anand. Kasparov is black. They tried to play a knight orf, but Vishy played bishop e5 check. They played this very topical line. There's a lot of games in this line. Sometimes white plays c4, but okay, knight c3. And after the game, h6 prevents bishop g5, so that's an important move. Vishy didn't like this knight maneuver. He thought it was clumsy, but I think it's just normal. Yeah, get your knight to e3. And white's a little bit better here, because black has a weakness on d5. The white knights are covering it well. Rook c5 is a little iffy. Yeah, and here Vishy didn't know what to do and thought a long time and played bishop e1. Yeah. And here he just didn't play well. Probably should put a knight on d5, and white's a tiny bit better, but he played b4. and a5, which is not good. And Kasparov correctly played bishop c4 and then d5. And probably white should play knight takes c4 here to avoid that. And then it's probably equal. And probably just Vichy underestimated d5 because white has all his pieces controlling d5. Ashley was very happy because Maurice plays the knight order if he tried to play d5. And d5 is a very good move. And then bishop g5. And this is just great for black. And in this position, instead of playing for the win, which black should do, black has 2 bishops, black getting his pawn back. So black just move his bishop off of c4, and black has the advantage, like 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, depending on what engine you ask. But, Kasparov had enough because, he had much less time. He hasn't won a game yet. He has the black pieces. We'll just draw and we will fight another day. And he just decided to draw the game by getting this opposite color bishop drawn position. And the players agreed to a draw here, and Chris Bird said, no, it hasn't been moved 30 yet. You can't agree to a draw. And so they said, okay. And actually, this is a funny rule in this tournament because they're not keeping score. The players don't have a notation because it's rapid, so they don't know when it's moved 30. So to have a rule that you can't draw until it's moved 30 and you're not keeping notation, that's slightly unfair to the players. So they just made some quick moves. These weren't real moves. They just played as fast as they could to get to move 30, and then they agreed to a draw. But they agreed to a draw earlier. They just weren't allowed to. So that was the first 2 days of Kasparov's comeback, and I'm a little bit worried that as the tournament goes on, he'll get more tired, and he's not going to play as well, because 27 games in 5 days. Wow. Whew. Yeah, I don't want to do that. But okay, he only lost 1 game, and he had some good positions. But it's not the Kasparov from 20 years ago. But I think in 27 games, he can muster up 2 or 3 nice games that you guys want to see. And maybe I'm wrong, and he'll start doing better. But I doubt it. Anyway, I'll make more videos. Probably the next video, I'll show some other games of other players, because there were a lot of really interesting games this tournament that didn't necessarily involve Kasparov, but you guys like Kasparov. I don't blame you. And I like Kasparov, too, as a chess player, 20, 30, 10 years ago. It's really good. I know a lot of Kasparov games, a lot more than you guys do. And one of his better games, he was white in a Scotch in Tilburg, either 90 or 91, one of them. And I was there, and I saw him analyze with Karpov. Wow, what a great game. What a great analysis. And I'll tell you the game for Chess Life. And he just saw everything. Kasparov in his 30s and late 20s saw everything. He calculated a million moves ahead. And we're not going to see that guy anymore, but he's still pretty good. Wow, did he see a lot. So I've been very impressed with his chess over, when he played really well in the 80s and 90s. And, yeah, I think this tournament's going to convince him to stay retired, because that's not who we're seeing here, but still pretty reasonable. Navarro's not having a great event, neither is Anand. And Dominguez and Nepo are really doing well, so that's impressive. And, well, tomorrow's another day, another video. I got some donations today, thanks. Some more members of the club. I went to the club twice today and did some manual labor. And, yeah, like that. Okay. So, yeah, I'm watching this nonsense today on TV with our idiot president. So, okay, like and subscribe here on YouTube and follow me on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and so forth. By the way, when I'm not chatting, I'm probably in the chat for the Sinquefield Cup. I'm just doing something else and I'm watching. I'm not always chatting when I'm there. But so I see your chats, your crazy chats. And I see all your crazy posts here, thanks. And, yeah, I'll let you guys know in 2 or 3 days of the check clears. All right, this is Grandmaster Ben Feingold with the video of the day. Go Kasparov. And if Carlsen plays soon, go Carlsen. Because, those are the only 2 guys who are good. What's that? Well, I just came from the truth-telling contest. Now, my videos are so exciting that my wife slept through the whole thing. In fact, she was having trouble sleeping, so she said, make a video. And then put her right to sleep. So, all right, see you guys tomorrow. Bye.